Live from WNY News, I'm Mildred Moore in New York with these headlines. Did Donald Trump confess to having an affair with a porn star? Did he paid her hush money? And what did a former prosecutor says about the mounting evidence he found that Trump committed tax fraud? We begin with this breaking news. The Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg recently made headlines. It was reported that he was presenting evidence to a grand jury regarding Trump's alleged hush money payment to former porn star Stormy Daniels. WNY News national correspondent Clifford Thompson has more.
Alvin Bragg announcement of a grand jury to investigate former President Donald Trump for financial crimes he committed in New York. It was a surprising news to many since he halted previous grand jury probe a year ago, which has to do with Donald Trump's real estate financial records. Trump could also face punishment for campaign financial laws that link to the $130,000 hush money he paid to a former porn star to keep her quiet. I'm Clifford Thompson for WNY News, reporting from New York.
In another development, a Manhattan grand jury recently began a hearing a case regarding Trump's involvement in paying the adult film star alleged hush money during his 2016 presidential campaign. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison for violating campaign laws after arranging the payment, and Cohen alleges that Trump advised him to do so. Senior reporter Mary Brownell has that story.
Stormy Daniels said she was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about the affair. In 2018, a defamation suit filed by Daniels against Trump was dismissed and Daniels was ordered to pay $300,000 in legal fees to Trump. A grand jury is now investigating Trump's alleged involvement, and the hearing could lead to criminal charges against the former president. Trump denied that he had an affair with Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, and that he never advised Cohen to pay her hush money. Daniels alleges that she had an affair with Trump while he was married in 2006. But recently, he made a stunning confession on his Truth Social. He wrote this, with respect to the Stormy nonsense, it is very old and happened a long time ago, long past the very publicly known and accepted deadline of the statute of limitations, he wrote. After that post, Daniels took his recent post as an admission of guilt and fired back at the former president with a tweet. Thanks for just admitting that I was telling the truth about everything, Daniels wrote. Guess I'll take my horse face back to bed now. Mr. Former President Trump faces an array of investigations in addition to the one involving his alleged payments to Daniels, including investigations into his possession of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago home and allegations that he meddled in the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. And if he's found guilty for the hush money payment, Donald Trump could spend 4 years behind bars for his crime. I'm Mary Brownell reporting from Palm Beach, Florida.
You listening to WNY News. Mark Pomerantz recently sat down with 60 Minutes in an interview to break his silence, and he had a lot to regarding the prosecution of the former president Donald Trump for financial crimes. Pomerantz, who is a well-known prosecutor for handling complex financial crimes, said he was shocked when his team investigators were stopped from proceeding of prosecuting Donald Trump. We now join WNY News senior news investigators, Michael Howard, who is covering that story.
During his interview with 60 Minutes, Mr. Pomerantz told the interviewer that he and his team found tons of evidence that Donald Trump dramatically inflated the values of his Mar-a-Lago properties, Mar-a-Lago, 40 Wall Street, his Seven Springs in Westchester County, New York, some of his golf clubs and his penthouse apartment in order to bolster his net worth so he can announce to the world how rich he was, which was all based on lies. Mr. Pomerantz said Trump's overstated his property's values by billions of dollars so he can get loans from the bank. Mark Pomerantz told the reporter that banks are not okay with false financial statements, and it is a crime New York to lie to a bank to get a loan. Mr. Pomerantz said they found all the evidence they needed to prove the case from Trump's accounting documents. He discovered that Trump used a pattern of tactics that varied from property to property, and what they had in common was they were dishonest. Trump's former lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, testified to Congress and New York Attorney General Letitia James that he was in the room with Donald Trump and Alan Weisselberg, who was CFO of Trump Organization, when Trump said he needs for his net worth to be X. According to Pomerantz, Trump claimed his Seven Springs, Mar-a-Lago, the triplex value worth was more than anybody had bought or sold a private residence for in the history of the United States ever. Mark Pomerantz said Donald Trump lied about the value of Mar-a-Lago, which he claims was $739 million in 2018, but it was actually value only at $75 million. It is almost 10 times less. Next, Trump said his Seven Springs residence was value $161 million in 2014, but it was only worth between $29 to $50 million. He also claimed his golf course in Jupiter was bought for $5 million in 2012, but 7 months later, Trump said it was value $62 million. He then filed a lawsuit claiming his taxes were too high. I'm Michael Howard in Washington.
According to Mark Pomerantz, used the loan money he got from the banks to buy Doral Hotel in Miami, refinance the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Chicago. Donald Trump also used the loan money he got from the banks to renovate the old post office property in D.C. Mr. Pomerantz said, what tied Trump directly to these crimes is a copy of a statement he signed with Deutsche Bank, showing he personally verified his financial statements. In 2015 and 2016, Trump listed his Fifth Avenue condominium as 30,000 square feet, when it was only 11,000 square feet. But in 1994, Donald Trump actually acknowledged that the size of the apartments were 10,996 feet. Mark Pomerantz told 60 Minutes the evidence he gathered persuaded the DA, Cyrus Vance, to authorize presenting the evidence to a grand jury to seek an indictment against Mr. Trump. We reached out to the former president for comment, but he didn't respond. You listening to WNY News in New York. We will leave you with Mr. Pomerantz's resignation letter. He wrote to Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. I and others have advised you that we've evidence sufficient to establish Mr. Trump's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and we believe that the prosecution would prevail if charges were brought and the matter were tried to an impartial jury. We want to thank all subscribers and viewers for tuning in, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It's free. If you like this video, please share and hit the like button. Thanks for watching. I'm Mildred Moore for WNY News. Have a great day, everyone.